So I was posting recently about that message that you sent me. That's how we got in touch. And somebody used the canard, how could Antifa be bad when Antifa means to be an anti-fascist? Which to me is kind of like calling the Taliban freedom fighters, and that those who oppose them are against freedom. But what do you say to that sort of thing?
Well, Antifa it's been talked about a lot in recent years, but it's actually one of the oldest left-wing activist organizations, and
Wow.
it goes back to
I didn't realize that. Yeah, like when I think of Antifa, I think this relatively new phenomena in the United States. So interesting.
No,
Okay.
Antifa started in the 1930s, and it was basically the paramilitary wing of the Communist Party in Germany. So
Wow.
the Nazi Party had their brown shirts, which was their paramilitary wing, and the Communist Party had Antifa. And so it started as a communist thing that they would just go out and commit violence against their political enemies. Some people actually say that they actually helped the Nazis gain power because they created so much kind of disorder and chaos in the streets of Germany that people just wanted kind of security, which they saw in the Nazi Party. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think the way it went is that after the war, it became more of an anarchist organization. The logo was originally two red flags, and they changed it to a black and a red flag. So the black flag is the black flag of anarchism. And the people that are involved in Antifa, I used to have many friends involved in this. They're kind of living in a nostalgic fantasy that we're still living in the 1930s in many ways. They still think that they are fighting, a fascist threat that's, the same, that's equivalent to the Nazi Party in 1930s Germany. They live in this kind of fantasy, and they kind of romanticize the battles that went on between fascists and anti-fascists back then in the 1930s. Like there was a very famous clash between anti-fascists and the police at a demonstration in the United Kingdom of the British Union of Fascists, which was led by Oswald Mosley. And this led to the anti-fascists came out to the streets and opposed it, and this led to what became known later as the Battle of Cable Street. And you will still see, that was like in the 1930s, you'll still see Antifa celebrating this supposedly heroic battle even today. Every year they kind of commemorate this event on its anniversary, and they use it as evidence that violence is the only way to oppose fascism. They're basically their ideology is that fascism is inherently violent, and the only way to oppose fascism is with violence. And they use, these things like the Battle of Cable Street as evidence. But it's so dishonest because, the real anti-fascists that defeated fascism was the Allied forces that fought against them. My granddad fought in the war. He was rescued off of the beaches of Dunkirk. And to me, those were the real anti-fascists. The people that go out in the streets and just cause chaos and violence and fight the police, they are just fascists with a different set of ideas. They are just the same as the Nazi fascists. They just have left-wing ideas instead of right-wing ideas. They're just as violent. They're just as full of hatred, and anyone who doesn't agree with them is an enemy.
Yeah. What did you think of your grandfather prior to this conversion, if you want?
To be honest, Matt, I didn't really know him very well because he died when I was quite young. And to be honest, when I was involved in all of this activism, I didn't really think about him or any of my family very much, to be honest. I was too busy thinking about myself. I was on this kind of I was on this kind of crusade. I thought I was going to change the world. I was just so arrogant and so narcissistic. You know, I thought everyone who didn't believe what I believed was either stupid or evil. And I didn't really think about anyone. And since I've kind of accepted that I was wrong about everything, and kind of seen the light as it was, I'm extremely proud of him, and also just ashamed that I kind of dirtied the family history. You know, that I sullied his great legacy that he left. You know, he was a brave man. You know, married to the same woman his whole life, and so I guess I just feel ashamed that I didn't live up to the example that him and so many other brave youngsters who fought in that war, you know, we complain about the society we live in. We talk about how hard we have it. I don't think any of us can really imagine what it was like for those young kids. You know, most of them were like 19, 20, 21 going into that war. And so I just have so much respect for him.
Well, I know you don't need me to say this, but I'm sure your humility and courage to speak out. I mean, it does take courage to admit you're bloody wrong and to start speaking out against those things. I'm sure he'd be proud of that now. If you like that clip, be sure to like and subscribe. Cheers.